And we're back for game number 2 of this best of 3. I actually didn't think we were going to load in, so I was kind of taken aback whenever it actually did load in when we had 2 that looked like they were going to drop. But we are here and ready to roll. Rattlesnake going to be coming into game number 2 with a 1-0 lead over Gizmo here in this best of 3. And that first game was pretty much all Rattlesnake all the time. Gizmo, I felt, had a very strong lineup. They had a very tough to crack lineup. But Rattlesnake just got so far ahead so quickly that by 30 minutes, I mean, and I kind of called it. I anticipated it. Gyro was given all the farm he could ever want. They had plenty of team fight and plenty of fight potential in their other 4, and they just kind of roamed around the map, took ganks when they could, took team fights when they could, took towers when they could. And by the time Gyro finally showed up with an MKB, a Helm of the Dominator, a Shadow Blade, amongst other items, he was just blowing everyone up. I mean, you can't allow a gyrocopter to reach that point. If you do, and you're a support, you're just going to die. You cannot stand within 1,000 radius of that gyrocopter because of flat cannon. Or if you do, you take 3 or 4 shots, and you literally die after 3 or 4 shots, and that was the situation Gizmo found themselves in. And they eventually did tap the GG. Now, not to keep harping on it, but I talked about it in Game 1, and I still feel, I bring it up now because I don't want to see Gizmo make the same mistake. Gizmo had the potential to apply a lot of pressure to a fairly weak tri-lane of Rubik, Gyro, and Warlock. Warlock functioning out of a tri-lane is not that great of a hero. He doesn't really, he has, yeah, I mean, you can talk about he has upheaval, but nobody actually puts a point in upheaval early. What he has is a heal. He has some damage. He can do some damage via the Fatal Bonds. Shadow Word gives his lane a little bit more sustain, but for the most part, he's very easily abused. And with a Jakiro, a Shadow Demon, and a Luna, Gizmo had a tri-lane that really could have put the screws to Rattlesnake's early laning phase. Instead, they dodged it, and I feel like that was really the beginning of the end. I mean, you hate to put it that way, but if you draft a lineup up against the lineup that you should be able to exploit, and you don't exploit it, you can't be surprised when that advantage that you've given away comes back to bite you in the ass. And that's pretty much how it ended up panning out. Enough about game number 1, though. Let's talk a bit about game number 2. Rattlesnake going big-time team fight once again. They're going to pick up Clockwork for the second game in a row. And Clockwork has been seeing a resurgence in the North American and European scene. And again, I have not broadcasted a lot of Asian Dota since the International 2, so I'm not going to pretend to be the most knowledgeable person in that department right now so far as metagame, so far as general tendencies and preferences. But I can already see at least one team in the Asian scene likes Clockwork a lot, and for good reason, especially when you pair him with something like a Darkseer. Darkseer with vacuum, being able to vacuum into the cogs. I've seen that work before in games I broadcasted for the D2L, and it is just devastating. I mean, and devastating is really the word. If you get 2 or 3 vacuumed into the cogs, it can just be a cataclysm, especially early on in the game when health pools are low, mana pools are low. It is just so hard to deal with. Gizmo's going to go with a similar lineup this time. They take Magnus themselves, though. Not going to give that back to Luo, who played a pretty good game of Dota on Magnus in game number 1. They're going to take that Shadow Demon plus Luna. What I really hope Gizmo does is make use of those 2 heroes and whatever support they want to tack on. Taking a look, I mean, with Darkseer and Clockwork already out, you have to figure those are going to be your solo laners. I mean, there's a variety of ways they could really do it if they want. Darkseer, for the most part... never mind. I was going to say Darkseer, for the most part, has been running mid a lot more lately. Mid and offlane. I mean, offlane was what he did for the longest time for the majority of teams. But now, with Queen of Pain added on, they've got 3 heroes that all really want to be left alone. They want their solo situations. Clockwork wants to find himself in a situation where he can soak up a lot of experience. If not a lot of gold, he can use Rocket Flare to get some last hits. Darkseer, of course, we know all about that hero. If you watch Dota, you know why Darkseer is so good. He's hard to kill. Ion Shell gives you a ton of push potential. And if you find yourself in a situation against the hero that just doesn't match up well against the Darkseer, they just literally can't do anything. You could just run behind the enemy tower, cut the creeps, get all the farm in the world, and take that tower at like 6 minutes in. I mean, it happens every day, even at the professional level. So, but we'll see how they want to lane this out. They could do something like send the Clockwork to the long lane. Queen of Pain could go mid, and they'll just stick Darkseer in the jungle. And since they are on Dire's side, that's a bit easier to do because you can just jungle the Darkseer on what I would call the close spawns, the 3 jungle spawns closest to the Dire side well. And then you still have the potential for your supports to soak up experience through stacking and pulling in the stack and pull slots that are very close to the lane on the dire side, safe side. So, still a lot of options open to them. Gizmo, I mean, Magnus once mid. You usually want to try and give the horned monster the mid lane as much as you can, just because he does need a couple of core items, and he usually is going to do okay against just about anyone, even a Queen of Pain, who will harass him to death. But he can bottle Crow if he really needs to, and he'll be able to last it with Shockwave, if nothing else, not to mention the escape mechanism that is Skewer. So 9 times out of 10, no matter what geographic region you're watching, you're going to see that Magnus wind up in mid. It's just going to be a question, again, of what they want to do with their Luna and their Shadow Demon. Jakiro's going to be available to them again if they want to go that direction. And we have yet to see that tri-lane take shape. Again, they could actually offensively tri-lane this. That's something I should talk about as well. Team Liquid in particular, out of North America, actually likes to run a Clockwork in an offensive tri-lane situation, so long as he has the right supporting cast with him. And what you'll see in a lot of cases, they don't really have the option here, though. They really need some kind of physical DPS they can rely on. Gizmo is going to go with an Enigma, so obviously they're going to be looking to defensively tri-lane, and they're going to pick a Crystal Maiden. All right, that makes me happy for 2 reasons. One, I don't get to cast a Crystal Maiden that much anymore. I think I've seen her picked twice in the last month or 2 in the professional games I've casted. Really like the hero, a lot of fun to watch that hero. But I tweeted earlier today, and this gives me a good excuse to mention it on air. If you know Asian Dota, you know the name Mineski. One way or another. I cast a Mineski power color back in my Monthly Madness Asia days. I was talking to my good friend DPM. DPM, lovely young lady in the Dota scene, so check her out if you have never heard of her. And she was telling me that she knows the owner of Mineski, and that he just had a daughter. Well, he didn't just have a daughter, he has a daughter, and he named her Riley, or Riley, however that's pronounced. He named her after Crystal Maidens, the general gist I'm putting across. And now he has another daughter on the way, and of course, anyone who knows him is harassing him to death to name his next daughter Lena, which, I mean, how can you not? Like, if you name your first daughter after Crystal Maiden, you name your first daughter Riley, how do you not name your second daughter Lena? Like, how is that even possible? So I'm gonna keep tabs on that. I'm gonna follow up that story in my journalistic sense, in my journalistic tradition. That's the word I'm searching for. But anyway, Gizmo has finished off their draft with the Tidehunter. So they've got team fight for days, and that's really the only way to put it. Tidehunter could off lane. They could also do what I had mentioned, just sack the off lane entirely, send Enigma into the jungle, and let the Tidehunter just tri-lane along with the Shadow Demon. And Tidehunter can be a deceptively dangerous support to tri-lane against. He's not the heaviest hitting, hardest punching tri-lane support in history, but with the armor reduction that comes with Gush, the slow that comes with Gush, and the Anchor Smash, the way it functions, reducing damage output as well as doing a decent amount of damage if it has enough points into it, it's easy to kind of fall asleep against the Tidehunter, and you get caught out, and all of a sudden you're dead, and you wonder what the hell happened. Rattlesnake is going to find that physical DPS in the form of a Faceless Void. So depending on how they want to lane this, I mean, I want to say it's obvious, but it's not. I mean, Queen of Pain mid, Clockwork taking the off lane, Darkseer finding himself in the jungle with Crystal Mating support and supporting the Faceless Void would be what would seem to make a decent amount of sense, at least on the face of things. But we'll have to wait and see. Gizmo, I feel like, is pretty set in their ways as well. They could say either way, it should be Enigma in the jungle, Shadow Demon supporting the Luna, Magnus mid, and then Tide can either go to the off lane or just be a tri-lane support as well. They could just sack that off lane entirely. But anyway, moving our way on into the game. We'll take a look and see who's going to be playing who in just a moment, as soon as I figure out if they're going to be heading to the same piece of real estate. If you're just tuning in, by the way, thank you so much for joining me on my maiden voyage. Yeah, there we go. How about I actually get my tongue out of my mouth, or get my tongue positioned correctly in my mouth? Joining me for my maiden voyage here on G1 This is my very first day of broadcast with them. I will be bringing you all of the action throughout the remainder of the Asian qualifiers and on through to the North American and European qualifiers, as well as the main event. So thanks again, guys, for being here for that. Hopefully, if you're a brand new viewer, you'll hit follow here on One More Game TV too. You can catch all of that action, not to mention the conclusion of D2L Season 2. Details about the playoffs will be heading your way very soon. And everything coming up in the future. A third season of D2L gonna be happening as well. Details about that will be out sometime very, very soon. So lots going on here on One More Game TV too, and hope to have you back in the future. Usually, I will be joined by a broadcaster. Most of the time will be Draskell, good buddy of mine, and if you know our broadcast, you know that he and I are joined at the hip practically. We tend to cast together a lot, but today, flying all by my lonesome. And looks like we are going to get away without a lot of blood on the ground here early on. Nope, maybe not. Kabu, he gets Ion Shell. They're going to go after him. And nope, just going to dip on down. But anyway, let's run through our lineups. We're going to have Kenrio handling our Enigma to start things off. Glize, who was actually farming in game number 1. He's going to be playing Shadow Demon this time around. Running through the Monsoon. We'll be playing on Tidehunter. Oh, the irony. Actually, it's not ironic. That's more appropriate. Oh, the poeticism. There we go. Much better way to put it. This time, it's going to be Jing farming up our Luna, and Magnus will be played by ZGL. On the other side of the river, Darkseer going to be handled by the captain, Lanham. I'm going to guess that's the captain. He's not really listed as captain. He's just more of a key figure. And, of course, a very well-known player from his time at eHome, competing in the International 1 and the International 2, really the heartbeat of new Rattlesnake and the new Team Rattlesnake. And there's a really good interview with him on Team Liquid, so make sure you check that out if and when you get the opportunity. I'll continue the lineups here in just a moment as soon as I see that these guys are going to settle the hell down. Faceless Void will be played by Ayesee, who just had an absolute field day on Gyrocopter in game number 1. Queen of Pain will be played by Luo, who seems to be the mid specialist now for Rattlesnake. He was on Magnus in game number 1, did quite a good job as well. Clockwork, played for the second game in a row by Kabu. Kabu, my MVP for game number 1, just played an excellent Clockwork. His movement, decision-making, his execution, all spot on. Really being a big part of his chances of his team's path to victory, I should say. And we're going to have Sag playing our Crystal Maiden. So did make it through. Take a look at the way the lineups are working out here. Going with the double off, I really didn't anticipate this out of Rattlesnake. I've seen this before, just not very often. And the reason I didn't anticipate this is you really don't want to be splitting experience with these two heroes for the most part. If they were anticipating this tri-lane, which obviously they were, then you had to know that you're going to be able to apply some pressure. But unless Gizmo just completely screws the pooch and makes a big mistake, you should not, under any circumstances, be able to get a kill in this lane. Like, that should just not happen. And what's being accomplished here, I mean, if you're not getting kills, you're disrupting farm, you're making life a little bit difficult for the tri-lane. I feel like Lanham could have done that just about on his own. So you're just splitting experience between two heroes that, for the most part, really just want their own lane. They just want to have a chance to get experience on their own. So I guess if you estimate that Darkseer would not have been safe enough to come forward like he is without a Clockwork, then of course it makes a lot of sense. But the decision out of Rattlesnake, we'll see how that's going to end up panning out. They did decide to go ahead and sack that long lane entirely, with Tide functioning here as just a lane support in the tri-lane, Enigma doing his thing in the jungle, and ZGL doing his thing with Magnus. Up at top, free farm for Ayesee. And this is, I mean, you gotta take what you're given, or what you draft at the very least. But we saw what happened last time they gave Ayesee free farm. It was a hard knock life. It was a lifetime true story, basically, as how badly they got abused. And hopefully they'll do something to shut Ayesee down a bit sooner than they did before. 3.5 minutes in, not a kill on the board. A lot of action, though. And given how aggressive these two are playing, a kill could happen at any point. Soul Catcher's off on Kabu. Lanham should be able to stay safe. And Kabu just man-moding right into GL's, to Glize, I should say. They do get the first blood. That should not happen. They should get Lanham here. Oh, no. Wand charges. OP, bro. And Tidehunter's now in trouble. He'll be picked off. The execution out of Rattlesnake continues to dazzle. Very well played. And again, this just should not be happening. But it is. So Rattlesnake, quite happy to take not just the first blood, but a +1 as well. Off to a very early lead. And Gizmo, and here's the thing. That is not a lane that should win. It could cause problems, and if you're up against it, you look at it and go, well, they obviously have a goal in mind. I guess they're going to be more comfortable getting experience in this situation, etc. And that's your #1 goal at that point. You're not even in the realm of thinking, man, we could end up dead here. But Gizmo giving away 2. I mean, this lane is already won completely. Top was completely sacked, so that's a 1 lane. Taking a look at the 1 lane that they have a chance to win. It's going to be mid, and Magnus is doing a decent job. He's not ahead, but he's in good shape. He's up to, yeah, I mean, he's right on par with Queen of Pain's last hits and experience, so at the very least, they got that going for them.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
But they're not done down here. Kabu continues to just play chest out. Lanham's right there with him, and there's the surge. He drops the cogs on Tidehunter. Very low after the Lucent Beam. And they will pay the price. That's what should have been happening every time they came out. Enigma's even there now. Enigma now level 5. And you have to figure he may wait till 6, but they're going to want to push that tower down, especially given Ayesee has now cleaned up the tier 1 top. And Luo actually just about died there. If Magnus had enough mana for a shockwave, that's a dead Queen of Pain, no doubt about it. But, as is, both walk away. Relatively intact at the very least. Crystal Maiden has been soaking up a lot of experience. Now, this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot just because we don't see Crystal Maiden that much anymore. A well-leveled Crystal Maiden is actually damn scary. A Crystal Maiden that gets to a quick 6 and has a team that can lock people in place, cough, cough, Faceless Void, cough, cough, vacuum into the damn Chronosphere, and then she can get off a full duration ult, even at level 1. That's a massive amount of magic damage. So that's something they got to keep in their back pocket. That's something they've got to watch out for. And now we're going to have Luo show up. Kenrio's going to be the target. That should, yeah, I mean, there's no getting away. And Gizmo just flat out being outplayed. I mean, that's really the only way to put it. A little bit of free gold for Queen of Pain and her merry band, her 2 little shorties. Sup, Shoddy? 2 of them just dominating this bottom lane at this point. 3-1 at 7 minutes into this game. The gold already 3,000 in the favor of Rattlesnake. The experience not quite that high, but still sitting at 2. But that's 500 gold advantage a minute, just about, generated at this point by this lineup out of Rattlesnake. And Void actually went Midas. So Rattlesnake feeling ultra confident in their approach to this game. And with damn good reason. They're playing a good game of Dota. We've got some rotation to mid now under cover of smoke. Luo needs to be careful. He's level 8. He's got a level 3 Shadow Demon flanking around him right now. And here we go. Crystal Maiden making her way up as well. Throws out a Nova right before she wards. They're going to pursue her. Be careful here, Gizmo. This is dangerous.
Radiant's bottom tower is
and it's not often you say that about 2 heavy hitters like an Enigma and a Magnus, both over level. Nope, never mind. Kenrio's not level 6. But moving into their own jungle, this should not be dangerous. There go the cogs. He thought about the RP. ZGL's just going to be nuked down completely. And, I mean, I don't even know what they can do. I really don't. And this is what I was talking about. Everyone on the side of Rattlesnake is finding their levels and finding their farm. And just these 4 heroes, and this is just 4 heroes doing this. Void has done nothing but bang creeps. He has not fought a hero yet. Here comes the Eclipse. That's going to be split up. There's a vacuum. Lanham should drop here, and he will. Kabu gets down the cogs. They can't really engage, so he'll be able to make it away quite safely. Crystal Maiden about 400 gold away from Arcane Boots, if that's the direction she wants to end up going. 2-5. Rattlesnake still leads, but Gizmo finds themselves another kill, so that's a step in the right direction. But again, the gold graph, experience graph, they continue to roll downwards. And can't say enough about this guy right here. Of the 2 matches I've casted today, Kabu has impressed me the most. He's a playmaker, and I'll tell you, Clockwork, he's a playmaking hero. but he is one of the more difficult playmaking heroes to be a playmaker on, if that makes sense. And Kabu's made it look easy, man. He's hit his hooks, his cogs have been immaculate. He has made great decisions. When he engages, it's almost always to the benefit of himself and his team. Not a lot of mistakes made out of him. And him in combination with Lanham just ran this tri-lane completely under their tower. Another good hook there, the cogs. Glizz can't do anything, frozen in place with the frostbite. Should be cleaned up and will. It's a hard knock life for Gizmo right now. Poor Gizmo. Tell you what, Gizmo needs to eat after midnight. Needs to come into contact with some water and needs to get scared real quick. Otherwise, this game has real danger of getting away from them again. And you hate to say that at just 10 minutes in, but it's 10 minutes in, it's 5,000 gold to the other team, just about the same in experience. They really are running out of time. And it sounds really negative to say that, but it's not a negative comment. It's a reality comment. They have everything they could possibly want in their back pocket to take a big-ass team fight. RP, Ravage, Black Hole, it doesn't even matter in what order you connect those abilities. I mean, the easiest way to do it would be Ravage to disable everyone to set up the perfect RP. RP, suck as many as you can, and then Black Hole. You do that, you're going to win. If you execute that, and every ability goes off and catches 2 or 3, you will win. You will win a team fight. There will be no recovery. But so far, Rattlesnake has just not allowed them any opportunity whatsoever to make use of that team fight potential. Just heard a hook. And poor Shadow Demon. This Shadow Demon has just been target number 1. Now, Tide's going to rejoin. Glizz will drop. Tide does not have Ravage, but there's a Black Hole. Gonna catch 2. Vacuum, though, brings him out of it. There's an RP on the low ground. Tide gets a kill in the meantime. Finally, Gizmo showing signs of life. Looking to take an outright win. Clockwork will make it to the high ground. But at the very least, they get 1 for 1. And this guy right here, give them... This puts a frown on my face. Poor Glizz, just trying to play a game of Dota. 11.5 minutes in. Showed up for work in the tri-lane. Has 2 GG branches and wandering around barefoot. Poor guy. But anyway, signs of life coming out of Gizmo. That's encouraging at the very least. And the vacuum out of Darkseer, that's something I kind of wanted to touch on, really haven't had a chance to yet, is how many ways they have to bring that Black Hole to an end until Kenryo gets a BKB. And one can only imagine that's going to be the item he really needs. I mean, with all of the setup he has out of RP and out of Ravage, he just does not need a Blink Dagger. It would be a waste of 2,100 gold to get a Blink Dagger. So he's going to want that BKB up. He's going to have an Ogre Club up. Oh, there's another hook that's going to connect, and Kenryo not going to be as close as he wanted to be. Actually, he's going to be going mech first. Now the vacuum into the cogs, and again, I talked about how devastating that is. Tide's there. He's still not 6. Here comes Luna looking for payback. ZGL is there as well. Still having trouble chasing down Kabu. Lanham will make it away. They end up trading 1 for 1. And I would imagine Rattlesnake's going to go ahead and take themselves the tower off of that. Ayesee has 1,600 gold in the bank. And he has 88 last hits at 13 minutes. 88! That's an 8 with another 8 after it. The speed the time travel occurs on, according to Michael J. Fox. That is where he is with his last hits. Now at 89. I'm so glad I got to make that joke before he got one more last hit. But his farm is absurd. I mean, just nutso. Bonkers. Bamboozling is what it is. Could not be going better for Rattlesnake right now. And they've got team fight potential of their own. Theirs is a little bit easier to, more difficult to execute. Hook, ooh. Dodge the bullet there. ZGL able to keep himself alive through a fortuitous set of movements. But even though, again, 4 to 8, that gold, I mean, it's leveling off a little bit now, but still steadily arcing downwards. Up towards 7,500, and we're short of 15 minutes. So, again, maintaining 500 gold a minute lead that they're building. Lanham will be spotted out. Going to have to surge himself away. He's going to mech on the way as well. Luo does manage to go ahead and add a kill to his total. Didn't even see where that happened. Looks like they picked the Enigma off at top, so Luo's movement continues to be quite solid. Looks like he's going to be going for the Aghanim Scepter approach. Don't blame that a bit, given how good of a start you've had. Just look to close this out. They're going to catch Kabu here, and the cogs go down. Skewers and back into the tower. Should be a dead clockwork by all rights, and will be cleaned up by the Shockwave. So, I've been bragging on him quite a bit for the last hour or so, but a couple of ballsy plays blowing up in his face now. And Gizmo beginning to make up some distance. Battle Fury gonna be the choice on Ayesee. And it's been a while, actually, since I've seen a Midas BK, or why do I want to say BKB? Midas Battle Fury build on a Void. It's not bad. I mean, it tends to indicate that you want to go late instead of trying to win in the mid game, which I really don't think is at all necessary for RS. I think Rattlesnake could build something a little bit more immediately valuable, like just going for a straight-up attack speed build, or hell, just go 100% damage, go Mask of Madness and MKB, and you could probably close this game out pretty confidently. But keeping it safe. Just guaranteeing that if you do need to turtle up, you've got the item you need to guarantee your farm is going to be on par with anyone. Mech is now done on Darkseer. Back to this Enigma. Given he has so much to help set up his black holes, the delay on the BKB is not the biggest deal in the world. But he is quite late on his mech. I mean, he's a full 1,000 gold behind the Darkseer in terms of getting their mech up. And usually if you want to rush a mech on an Enigma at the detriment of having a BKB, it's because you can get it quickly. It's because you're able to push towers, you have an excess of gold. And that's just not really been the case for him. He's died a couple of times. He's been under a lot of pressure in the Radiant jungle. He's spent a lot of time out and about in the lanes now, not necessarily farming the most efficiently. Another hook will connect. That's going to catch Tidehunter. And just beautiful. And that's owed to that ward right there. Hold on. Now we're going to have TP reactions in. Good vacuum brings 2 back. Sage, or Sog, trying to make his way away. Immediate response comes back from the Tidehunter fresh from respawn. And he's going to be spotted out again. Here comes Gizmo on the warpath, running as a team now, looking to find anything they can to help close this gap a little bit. RP's actually going to be spent on just the solo Lanham. That's a little surprising. Wall's going to go down, and there's the vacuum right before he dies. If Void wants to re-engage here, he might be able to get a couple of kills. I'm really surprised he didn't throw a Chronosphere. If he re-engages and catches both, if they catches both of them, he probably kills both, honestly. But instead decides to hold off and play a bit more passively. Gizmo threatening now this tier 1. Want to point out, if I can get a moment, how aggressive the wards are right now out of Rattlesnake. And this ward right here is exactly what got that Tidehunter killed and set off that team fight there in mid. Just very astute ward placement, and I feel like this is just a good example of Rattlesnake executing much better. And it's one thing to execute much better mechanically. What I think really stands out here in this game and in game 1 is that Rattlesnake seems to have a much more concentrated, much more concerted set of goals for the mid game, or for the early game and stretching into the mid game. I feel like their goals, their game plan is very specific, whereas Gizmo's, I can't help but feels a little helter-skelter. It's a little bit all over the place. Kabu gonna wander down under cover of an Invis rune, and oh, that sucks, Enigma. Caught out, throws out the Malefice, but should be cleaned up and will be. Now the rest of the team arrives. There's the Ravage, first time used, and the Skewer backwards. Now more TPs coming in. They should be able to clean up Kabu, but here's Ayesee. Oh, and he throws down the Chrono just enough to clean up the Magnus and keep the rest of his team alive. Beautiful placement on that. And here comes Kabu ready to rejoin the fight. 3-0 the current trade. And Ayesee just man-moding it. Manages to time walk his way back across the ridge and get himself back to safety. Another big win for Rattlesnake, and they just continue to roll this momentum. Tier 1 did drop as well. And yeah, 10,000 gold, just about the same in experience, short of 19 minutes in. So, I mean, I'm going to give it to Gizmo. I feel like they're playing some very ballsy Dota. They're playing they're playing fairly well, but just back to the same thing. I hate to sound like a broken record, but when I see a game like this, what really stands out is just it's not so much that the execution of Rattlesnake is that much better. It's good, and it is superior, but it's not as if, oh, well, it's just skill difference. Rattlesnake, I think, is playing on a different tier right now than Gizmo is, but for the most part, I just feel like their game plan was very non-specific. I feel like their game plan in their draft was, let's get a bunch of team fight and go take team fights. And that works to a certain extent, but not when you're up against a team who has a core group of 4 heroes that can apply pressure in a much different way and allow this to happen. Ayesee to continue to farm his balls off. And I mean, it's 137 last hits. And he's going to have just about 140 at 20. 20 minutes in, 140 last hits. Absurd. Genuinely absurd. That's very near perfect. Like, that's, you know, 85, 90% perfect Dota. That is ridiculous. And you don't see it very often. As good a farming as you see, it's very rare you see it that high. But as is, they are going to catch Kabu again. He drops the cogs to try and buy himself some time to retreat, and it will be enough. RS doubling up their opponents. They're up to just about 15,000 in terms of gold now in lead. And it's just going to get worse. I mean, the Void, he has 2 farming items. Void goes Midas, you go, okay, man, he's got a farming item. He's going to get fat. He goes Battle Fury, you go, man, that Void going to get fat if we're not careful. He has both. And he's going to get more fat as this game goes on. He could seriously... This is one of those games where if it goes to 40 minutes, usually hard carries don't have full inventories until 50 minutes, past 50 minutes. If Rattlesnake wanted to turtle this out and just take their time and farm a full inventory on Void, he'd have it by 40 minutes right now. No doubt about it. And poor Crystal Maiden, her slow little butt, will be spotted out. Here comes another hook that catches Jing. BKB is going to be used. Here come the troops. Lanham's there along with Luo. Vacuums him back. Lanham now going to be on the retreat. Luo looking to use his ult sometime soon. Ravage will be blown. Pretty much got no one. In fact, that did get no one. That whiffed entirely. Sonic Wave will go off. That'll clean up. Luna, Tidehunter now left standing, tries to wave goodbye. Goodbye indeed, Tide. I'm going to take that as a goodbye to me. Rattlesnake beginning to add an exclamation point to this series. Roshan was just soloed by Faceless Void while that was happening, by the way. Soloed. 22 minutes. Just solo it. Don't worry. It's fine. It's cool. And Luo blinks right into a disruption. Here comes the Crystal Maiden. They're going to take this tier 2. One of only 2 remaining outer tier towers for Gizmo. And 22 minutes in, pretty sure we're reaching somewhere near the conclusion. Not a whole lot more hemorrhaging can go on for Gizmo before they just bleed out and gasp at their last. Ayesee is hitting for 175 damage. Got 2,400 gold in the bank. We'll see what item he wants to build next. I mean, at this point, what does he even have to worry about? I mean, he is just out-damaging Luna so badly. 140 to 275, or 175, I should say. And it's not just the pure damage. It's the Mask of Madness in particular. He's just able to drop a Chrono and blow someone up. It's just not going to be a problem. And he may just try to do that. Here we go. Mask of Madness is popped. There it is. Chronosphere catches him. 2, 3. Oh, good disruption. Gonna buy Jing just enough time. And now going to be forced to run away from his own illusions. Luo comes in, forced to blink away. Trying to bottle himself up. Blows a Sonic Wave before he gets skewered. Wow. RP? Not sure that was necessary, but as is, they do manage to get another kill added to their total. 8 to 17. Trying to stop the bleeding. Demon Edge added to the inventory of Ayesee now, so another MKB on the way, at which time he'll just swing once and blow everyone up. But for now, Gizmo continues to play hard. Gotta love it. Gotta love the dedication to winning. Taking a look at the kill, deaths, assists, the KDA. 5-1 is tops for our Queen of Pain. 5-2 on the Crystal Maiden. Haven't really talked a whole lot about Sag, but I like this pick again, and it's fun to see how well played Crystal Maiden. He's died a couple of times, and he shouldn't have. Has not really had a gigantic amount of damage for the most part, but has just played a very solid 5 support. 4-1 on Luna. She's doing quite well. After that, it kind of falls off, but Rattlesnake doing so much. Oh, there's a good vacuum. Brings Kabu back towards the tower. And vacuum right into the cogs, though. Sonic Wave lined up, caught everyone. Here comes the Eclipse, but it's spread out on creeps. So they managed to go 1 for 1, and they're going to look to make it more. Ayesee's going to have his, oh, what a clutch bash. Sag will be cleaned up by the Tidehunter, and Black Hole will catch Luo. But it doesn't matter. Just no follow-up damage whatsoever. In the meantime, Tidehunter will be cleaned up as he makes his way to the shop. Lanham and Luo pursuing down Kinryo. And he's not going to make it back. Not going. Oh, good deny. Shadow Demon says, you know what? Can't save you, buddy. But if you're going home in a body bag, it's going to be one I give you. So he gets the deny off. Don't know that that's going to make much of a difference in the conclusion or outcome of this game. But still, always a lot of fun to see big plays from big players. Last outer tier tower seems to be on its way to the ground. Go back to the net worth. And yeah, this is officially one of those games where the lead farmer's net worth is higher than the other team's first and second lead farmers combined. That's the state of things. Magnus's farm plus Luna's farm does not equal Void's farm right now. That's how far ahead he is. Just utterly absurd. Utterly absurd. And we can see they're beginning to play pretty confidently, as one would expect. MKB should be done pretty much now. I mean, another couple of last hits, he'll have that added to his inventory. Poor Luna. Tried to go Jackie Chan again. Not working for Jing any better than it did for his buddy. Doesn't even have the Yasha yet up. Yet up? Yeah, Yasha up yet. Drums, BKB are complete. BKB just not doing a whole lot for him. I mean, and that's one of the strengths of Void that isn't often talked about. I mean, his bash is what makes him him. But in particular, against heroes like a Luna, like a Gyrocopter, where if you can get on them and bash them down, it negates the advantage of a BKB in a lot of cases. And that's what we've seen so far. Still has that Aegis, and I'm actually surprised he's not doing more with it. It's going to be gone in about 45 seconds, so if they want to try and get that Aegis used, they should just go for it now. He's going to rotate his way over. He's actually going Daedalus. Not going to go with the MKB. So Daedalus, the parts are back at the base. Courier does not have them on him, though. And heard a hook. Didn't see where it went. There it was. Kabu went in, and Enigma going to be caught. Oh, wow. Right into the Chronosphere. Down goes Tide. Down goes Shadow Demon. RP goes off. But don't think it's going to matter. Kabu does end up dying. Eclipse is there, but even it's not doing all that much damage anymore. Crystal Maiden's going to be able to make it away. Luo Lanham diving back to the well. And Luo's just going to go for it. There's a scream. Oh, oh, good vacuum. Lanham. Make sure the kill happens. 4 exchanged for 1. Aegis is still up. Should be fading. Yeah, now. Aegis just faded. So, didn't get much use out of it, but at the very least played like he still was going to have it. Luna going to be back up at 35 as we approach 30 minutes in. 25,000 gold, the advantage of Rattlesnake now. 25,000 experience. Don't think it's untoward to say that this game should be just about over. Tier 3 will drop to Faceless Void as we watch Lanham and Sag rotate out. There's going to be a good vacuum into the wall. And yeah, he's going to force a Ravage. Now the hook coming from downtown. Catches Shadow Demon. Sonic Wave is there to secure the double kill. KS Luo like a boss. Pursuing Kinryo on past the tier 3. And I think we can expect the GGs at any point now. Black Hole, hey, what the hell? Use it or lose it, right? Jinx says, I can pad those stats. Come get a kill. BKB pop, but it doesn't matter. Void's there to get a double kill of his own. And that should just about be that. They're actually diving the well now, sub 30 minutes. And they should be able to mega here. I don't think there's any question about it. Daedalus done on Ayesee. He is hitting for 175 damage, give or take. 275, I should say, per shot with a Battle Fury. So that's all going to be cleaved out. 30,000 gold, more than 1,000 gold a minute advantage built by Rattlesnake throughout the entirety of this game. They're going to go ahead and pull back momentarily. Really, Lanham? Really? Going back to base, 30,000 gold ahead, 29-11. Really? We're not just going to push the racks. That's okay, though. Sag on his way to a BKB of his own. Has his Blink Dagger. I still want to see a good Crystal Maiden ulti. I don't think I've seen a great one yet. I want to see one like EG versus IG at the International. That clip still makes me happy. Pipe done on Clockwork. Not that it really matters. Or nope, never mind. That wasn't Clockwork. But Clockwork, it's got a Vanguard. Don't see that item out too much anymore. Don't mind it on a clock. And here, oh, RP wound up. BKB's pop. There's Chronosphere. He's just going to go right on Kenryo. In the meantime, ZGL retreating. Enigma blown, or not, actually was disrupted, so he stayed alive. Good vacuum, brings him together. Wall goes down. RP is spent. Sonic Wave will be there to clean up the mag. And now the re-engagement onto the Tide Hunter. Down he goes in the shadow of his own Tier 3. And GG sometime soon. In the meantime, the diving continues. Kenryo picked off before he can get back to the well. Second set of racks will be dropping now. Now we'll take one. Yep, there it is. One last look as the GGs come out. And I'd say 30,000 golden experience lead at 30 minutes. That's an okay win. I think Rattlesnake played okay here today. 32-11 in a 30-minute drubbing, a 30-minute rout. Gizmo's run here in the Asia qualifiers comes to an end in Phase 2. Rattlesnakes gonna continue. They're going to advance here in Group A to meet MUFC and in the next round. So they know who their opponent's going to be, and that's going to be a fun series to watch. Watching Rattlesnake with Lanham take on MUFC, of course, in the midst of their own identity crisis as they look to remake themselves, still playing with just 3 core players and 2 stand-ins for each match. And Rattlesnake, the new team of old veterans, making a name for themselves, looking to make a name for themselves in a big, big way here in G1. Off to a great start in doing so by putting a very impressive win together and knocking Gizmo out of these qualifiers. Don't forget, guys, we're going to be back every day for the next 6 days. I'll be here. Gods, the 3 Davids, we'll all be here. Our next scheduled broadcast will be tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 12:30 p.m. if you're in Central Europe, and 7:30 a.m. Singapore time. Hope you guys will join us for that. Or no, I got that backwards, actually. It will be 3 a.m. But anyway, the Ancient blows, and we are ready to roll to the next round. Gizmo put up a good fight, if you can call it that. They put up an impassioned fight, an impassioned resistance. How's that? Use some revolutionary speak. All in all, though, RS rules. Looking very impressive, putting together a 2-0 victory over Gizmo and advancing again to take on MUFC, who got past Cyberpink earlier today, 2-0.